is Chop It Up, a one-of-a-kind cooking show and podcast all wrapped in one. Each week, we invite amazing couples into our home to share a meal. The twist is, the guests get to decide what's for dinner, and I take on the challenge of recreating one of their favorite meals live.
I create a complimentary cocktail pairing along with colorful conversation about love, life, faith, and the culture. Or a one-of-a-kind experience that is sure to serve up lots of flavor. Let's see who's having mine for dinner tonight.
And this is Chop It Up. What's up, everybody? My name is Roy Class, and this is my lovely wife, Brittany, and we would like to welcome you all to Chop It Up.
Chop it up. We have our lovely guests, Kat and Fonz here, kicking it with us today, and they got something special for the chef to cook, taking us down to
Nawlins,
baby.
So tonight, I'm super excited. We are making shrimp and grits, and we're gonna put a little fun spin on it. We're gonna put a couple different ingredients that I like in my style, and I also got to research the restaurant that they had it at, and so we're gonna put a little bit of their spin in it too. I did a little research, talked to a couple people, and so we're gonna chop it up.
Chop it up.
Let's get to it. All right, so first thing we are going to start with is getting the grits on. That's going to take a little bit of time.
Okay, let's talk about these grits first, because when you have brought this home, it had this
Okay.
yeah, forget it a little bit. So, Chef, will you tell us about what's different styles of grits and why you chose this type?
Yeah, so grits, I grew up eating hot breakfast. I wasn't one of them kids that was blessed to eat cereal until I was probably in high school. And so we ate a lot of grits, like
cream of wheat and all that kind of stuff?
cream of wheat, oatmeal, grits.
Okay.
I ate it all. I had some old school people raising me, so we ate it all. But grits it's dry corn. They got a lot of different varietals. They have it in Italy also. You'll see a lot of it in the South as well. Hominy, which is like the normal white grits that you'll see. It's like a bigger corn kernel, which you see like a lot in Spanish food. And then they also have the yellow corn grits as well. So I did a little bit more traditional on the southern side with the yellow corn meal tonight. One of the old school tricks that a lot of people don't know is when you're making these stone ground grits that take a little bit more time, you can actually soak them overnight, and what will happen is they kind of open up and it'll cut the cooking time down, because a lot of people do the quick instant grits right now.
I was about to say, you already know where I'm at. I'm just
The
ready
package
for
of
grits.
So, these have been soaking since about 8 this morning. What it also will do is that you'll see any of like the little dead kernels will float to the top, which is stuff that they say you don't really want to eat. It'll also take the first kind of layer of starch off, which is going to make them nice and creamy when we actually get them in. So we're going to drain this. These have been soaking. And these are going to go right into some boiling hot water. But as you can see, they kind of absorb a little bit of the water, and it's just going to make the cooking texture go a lot faster. It also helps kind of preserve you don't need as much water, so kind of give like the more rich flavor if there is such a thing.
Very interesting.
Put that in there. Whisk over there.
Yes, sir.
With grits too, like once you're starting, you can always change what kind of liquid that you're adding into it. I think that's what chefs do that maybe home cooks don't always think about. So like if you're doing a shrimp and grits, you can use like a stock, or you can use cream, or you can use like different things to kind of flavor the water. That's going to give you a different result at the end. So that's one of the things, that little tricks that I use. So if you want to grab, I'm going to use half of that stock.
Stock? Okay, what kind of stock do you have, Chef?
This is a vegetable stock, which just kind of gives me some of that flavor and seasoning and a little bit of salt without actually starting with the salt.
You want half of this?
Yeah. Perfect. And then we're going to bring this up to a boil and turn it down to a simmer once we get rolling. So, talk to me about this shrimp and grits. Set the stage for me. Where was y'all at in New Orleans?
Yes. How did you
Which
get
one of
this?
y'all amazing trips was this?
Oh, so man, just to set the base. So New Orleans is that's our spot.
It's our city.
Like that's our
We
city.
love it.
We love to go there. I mean, it's just a great combination of good food, culture, a good balance. of
Ambiance,
it's
music.
it's just all there.
It's just all the things that we like too, right? It just speaks to us. So
Specifically food. But shrimp and grits is always, I think it's one of those things that it's like if I see it on the menu, I want to try it. Right.
Okay.
But it's almost one of the sacred things too. Like you can't eat everybody's shrimp and grits, right? But if you go into a place, especially if you're in New Orleans where they damn near specialize in that,
Right.
you got to try the shrimp and grits. And we were at what's it called?
Ruby Slipper.
Ruby Slipper.
Shout out Ruby Slipper.
Yeah.
Shout out Ruby Slipper.
And they have multiple locations, but there are, in our opinion, locations that are better than others.
Regional places.
Exactly.
Makes a difference.
So we've eaten at least like 4 or 5 different Ruby Slippers. Some in the quarter, some outside. And we love the dish because I've gone to a few other places there in the quarter that have had bacon wrapped shrimp and grits and all these other types of things, but the flavor that we got at Ruby Slipper was
And it's
really good.
always interesting to me to see the spin that people put on that shrimp and grits, right? Because you think, I mean, it can be just a basic dish, but then you got your different flavors and your different spins that you can put on it, depending on where you at, and that kind of comes through of the culture and all these different things that tie into the finished product. So.
We got a chance to go to New Orleans, and it was a crazy adventure.
We was there for like 36 hours. It was the quickest trip we've ever taken.
It was really like a hangover type of like heavy, trip. You didn't sleep much.
We were going for a wedding, so we were almost late too.
We almost missed the wedding. One of the weddings, like if you're not here,
They shut the door on you.
they're gonna shut the door on you. And my wife, bless her heart, got to the hotel and finally got checked in. And we didn't know that the French Quarter was so far from the airport. And we was there during traffic, and it's a little bit of a drive to get down there. It was a football game going, so it just took us time to get to where we were going. We were right on Canal Street in the mix. So when we got in, it was probably like 48 minutes before it started, and she had to get dressed. And I was like,
From the airport, girl.
Yeah, you would have been sitting waiting for me quietly with a cocktail.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have. No.
Right, cut it out. We ain't made it.
But
she popped up and you slid right in there.
it was great. It was a great time. We got to do second line.
Oh, yeah.
It was so dope. So yeah,
The second line was crazy. I'm sitting in the wedding. I'm like, I hear this music, but I'm just like, oh, it's probably rowdy here. It's Friday night. And I didn't know that they were coming into the reception to get us.
Yeah.
And we're walking out through the main lobby of the hotel, and next thing you know, like, we're in the street. They stop everybody. And when we start walking, it's like 20 of us, like this is a
like the wedding party.
like the wedding party.
But everybody can join.
And when we turned around 3 blocks later, like
hundreds of
it felt like the musicals where they dancing and
Yeah.
stuff.
In sync with
like,
And everybody knows like what to do.
They just hopped in. They had their little scarves and it was so yeah.
well, it was super dope.
So
So,
grits.
grits are on.
What's your about grits? Do sugar go on grits? Let's talk about it.
Well,
Let's talk
that's a
about
good
it.
question. The answer,
It varies.
okay, for me, yes, sugar goes on grits.
You put sugar on rice.
I need for
My kind of ginger, right? Sugar on rice, rice, butter, and sugar.
sugar.
I think
Butter and sugar.
my family has southern roots. I grew up going down south, reunions, all that type of stuff. I've had both. I prefer the sugar. I like a little sweet, but I've had both and I like both.
I like both.
Yeah, it depends on what I'm eating it with. If I'm eating it like grits, I've had grits and catfish for breakfast. It's like very southern breakfast type of thing, and I'll find out. Yeah, exactly. I want them savory, but like with other stuff, I definitely could have.
So I didn't grow up eating hot cereal like my husband, like grits and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Just wasn't a thing. So I didn't really stop eating them until we got married, because he would make them quick in the morning. And when he first started making them, they were savory, like cheese and all the things. So that's how I kind of got introduced to them. I like them, but then now I'm like I eat them with too.
I don't think I've had cheese on my grits, so I grew up.
I cook grits with cheese.
I know. I'm saying,
Pizza.
I'm saying as a kid.
Okay.
So we grew up with the grits though, because all of the hot stuff, and it was always butter, sugar, everything. And I didn't try cheese on my grits until this one came along. I'm not eating that. What's that? But it is.
Yeah.
He ate it. Yeah.
All right, so we next are gonna get started on seasoning the shrimp. We got some tail on 1315. It's good size here that my wife got today. We're gonna season those up, and then we're gonna sear these and pull them off. And then we'll build our sauce, and we'll drop the shrimp right in right at the end and make sure they're nice and juicy.
Have either of you ever attempted to make shrimp and grits?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I feel like y'all cook a lot of Cajun stuff now that I think about it. When I'm watching,
Yeah.
You just made some jambalaya the other day, didn't you?
We made
Was
gumbo.
it gumbo? Okay.
So the story with the gumbo, we were supposed to go on one of our many trips to New Orleans for my birthday, which is in December, and there were like tornadoes all through New Orleans, so we had to cancel the trip. But because we canceled it, he made me gumbo, and it was good. And so now that's his thing. Yeah.
we're gonna have to do some gumbo this summer. Our girl Angie from Houston does her grandmother's classic gumbo recipe. It is delicious. And she kind of gave me an opportunity to get my hands on the recipe. Because to me, just from cooking certain things makes sense. Styles of cooking and how you do stuff. And she gave me an opportunity to just like look at it. And so I made some smoked turkey leg stock for her to make the gumbo with. And it was like,
Cat, when I tell you, I was on the whole diet.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
really good. You know what I'm saying? Feeling good, drinking a little tea in the morning.
Uh-huh.
I got in that thing. He slid that damn bowl over. I'm like, okay, we'll start over tomorrow. It was so good. It's the best gumbo I've ever had with that smoked turkey leg broth.
Wow.
So poppin'.
all right, we're gonna get started here. I have some of my Paul Perdomo's Seafood Magic. He's like a old school chef from New Orleans and has a lot of different products, but similar to Old Bay, but he's got his own little spice on here. So we're gonna start with this. And then I'm actually gonna clean this salmon up real quick. Can you grab that salmon up the fridge for me?
So chef actually has a shellfish intolerance. So he really doesn't eat shellfish, is why we have to mess up. But he can cook with it, like touching it and all that kind of stuff.
It's interesting.
Which is, yeah.
I never really understood, but I always like cooked with it. And it's interesting because I grew up on the West Coast, but I fished a lot, but we never really ate seafood like that. But I'm gonna give it a go. Here.
Okay, so what about you do with this?
I'm just gonna take the skin off of this real quick. And then we'll cut a couple little strips.
Don't do it like that.
Like that. Cut a couple little strips. Figure that was here. You want to turn that big pot on? Yes.
Do you all take the skin off your salmon?
If I'm smoking it or grilling it, something that's like high heat, I usually don't. Because I like to preserve like the juiciness and I don't want it to stick and fall apart. But it's always kind of like a little insurance, I would say. You know, if you're doing like outdoor cooking with it to hold the piece of salmon together. If I'm like doing it in the oven, or if I'm doing it in if I'm doing it in the oven, or if I'm doing it like sauteed in a pan, salmon usually got a lot of fat on it, so some other fishes not so much, but salmon just pokes up pretty good. I like the skin. I like to do oil and butter. It's kind of like a little chef trick. Butter I always do for the flavor. I'm a salted butter guy. I use unsalted butter but and then the oil helps your butter from burning, so it kind of gives you more time to cook at a higher heat without the smoke. Because sometimes people burn the butter and you're like, oh, this don't taste. You can taste that, so I like to do a little higher.
Because I heard you went up on Dave Chappelle is what I heard.
When I tell you that I was sitting in the audience like, oh my, that was nice.
That wasn't it. So we are, I guess, known for our recent cigar business that we started up just 3 years ago, and being the only black-owned cigar company in Minnesota. It came out of surprise, really. If we talk 5 years ago, it was not part of our plan at all. It was not something that we intended on doing. I've been a cigar smoker for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years or something like that.
I was socially.
She was social.
You know.
Yeah. And it was just something that we, you know, it was a way for me to relax. Like, it was something I did when I got off work, you know, get me in the back, put my music out there and let me chill with a cigar, give me my bourbon, and I'm good. That was just kind of my chill, relaxed time.
That's all I am with the weed.
That's okay. That works too. That works too.
Right.
But no, it's the same idea. But and I really, so after I got out of the backyard, I'm like, man, let me get out. You know, let me get out, and you know, so I wanted to go to some of the cigar lounges that was here in Minnesota. And I jumped around. I was just kind of going, just really to network with folks. And when I get into these cigar lounges, and I just didn't feel welcome.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel welcome. You know, I was a younger guy. I was black, and it's mostly white men, mostly middle-aged white men in these cigar lounges, right? And you know, I'm in there, and I'm trying to, you know, just introduce myself to people, and I'm trying to get some education on cigars. Like, hey man, I don't know nothing about cigars. You know, how do you pick them out? What does this mean? What does this mean? And I was just kind of always met with some just resistance. I mean, it was just like, okay. And then on top of that, like, the cigar lounge was pretty, like, there was nothing that spoke to me. There was no swag. I mean, there was no culture. Like, none of my culture was in them. You know, aside from not seeing anybody that looked like me, there was nothing in there that represents me. So it's like, you know what, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work for me. And then it became kind of an expensive habit. Like, I was starting to spend a lot of money on cigars. And Kat, like, come on, bro. Like, like, okay, this is cool, but what we doing? So I'm like, okay, well, you know, what's my alternative? And I literally just like, I wonder what it would take to roll my own cigar.
It was also an expensive habit.
So,
Not trying to error, I'm sure.
well, in the beginning it is, because it is trial and error, right? Because you're buying all this stuff. But I was researching how to do all this, how to roll cigars, and I kind of just got to work doing it. And then it became fun, you know, and it was kind of relaxing. It was just, you know, then I started getting real good at rolling cigars. And then it kind of just, like, my entrepreneurial spirit just kind of kicked in. It was like, you know what? We can create something around this, right? Where it's like your experience that you were having in these cigar lounges where it just wasn't inclusive. You can build something that is the opposite, right? You can create a brand around the things that you like and the things that speaks to your culture and your swag, and that doesn't already exist, right? There's not a whole lot of over the past probably 2 or so years. There's more black-owned cigar brands that are popping up all over the nation, but even at this time, there was nothing like that, especially not in Minnesota,
Right. Yeah.
So then it became, okay, well, let's get to work on that. Right, let's use that idea of black culture and the cigar culture, and let's bring them both together. Right, and it was let's bring your swag to the existing cigar culture, and then we gonna create it. That's what Allure is, and it was the idea of creating. Okay, we want a good brand, a good cigar. But we also want to be able to create, kind of create that experience that I was lacking going to these other different cigar lounges.
Yeah,
Educate people is cool.
educational piece, and I also think like you guys have figured out how to make it really approachable, which was dope to me. And I was just trying to get done at the time. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was there for the picture, and like, but a chef of mine used to work at a cigar shop that Michael Jordan used to go to in Cabo. And so he would put me on, and then like when we would go to different cities, then it became a thing. Like we need to go find like the local little cigar place, check them out, and it was a thing where we also met like some more high-end clientele. We would tell them when we open in a restaurant, come down and check it out, and it was like a thing that we did. And so I kind of started to get into it a little bit and figure out what I liked, and like as a chef, what really spoke to me is the aromas and the flavors. So once I got into that part of it, it started clicking in my brain really quick, like, oh, I like all these different things. And then in our, we had our honeymoon, no, it wasn't our honeymoon, we were in Key West. We were on vacation in Key West, and we went to Key West, and they had every flavor you could imagine of something tropical. They had key lime and guava and, you know, just brown sugar and vanilla and like all these different flavors, and they were like fresh rolled cigars. And so we had our little beach, you know, our little beach room that we could see the water and sit out there smoking cigars. And it was probably the first time I think that you really was like.
The first time when I asked you, like, okay, that's fine. Because, you know, I don't smoke like cigarettes and all like that growing up, so I don't know how to not inhale. If you feel me, like it's just like, you know, because that's what, you know, that's all I smoke. So I didn't know how to do it. Now he's like, you're gonna die like that. You know, so it was too much thinking.
That was my first experience, right? So like
He came home sick.
my first time smoking a cigar again when I decided to leave the house.
Dating, living in an apartment in Uptown.
Yep. And I went to a cigar lounge in Uptown, and this was my first experience, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, well, you're gonna smoke this just like you smoke a blunt.
Exactly what I expected.
You know, right?
I
So
smoked the whole thing in one sitting.
I go and pick out the biggest, thickest cigar I can find, trying to be cool.
Trying to be a dime.
You know, and then I'm sitting there smoking the thing like a blunt, and I smoked the whole thing. I mean, that thing had to be, you know, 6.5.
That's a
So a couple hours later, it comes home. Man, I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. I got a headache. I'm like, I said, did you smoke the whole thing? You're not supposed to do that.
I don't know, but that was part of the conversation. That was part of the conversation I was trying to have when I was in a cigar. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, how do I do
What
this?
am I looking for?
You know?
What is this? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had one of those experiences as well, and unfortunately, it was like a Scotch and cigar thing. It tore me up. But it also let me know like what style I like, and you know. But it just was one of those things. I think people know those brands, so you're like, oh, I want Cohibas or I want Monte Cristos, and they want some big fat cigars, and then they're like, no, you got to work your way up to that.
And that's how we started with. Remember, a friend of mine used to bring in Cohibas for us quite a bit, and so we were kind of lucky enough, I guess, would say, to start off with something like that, which is that robust flavor and all that too. But you know, it just.
That was the part, Gerard, I share you. I mean, the idea that you can create like whatever it is you like, the aromas, the taste, you know, all of that stuff that you can really create. That's really intriguing. Once I start rolling them, I'm like, wait a minute, I can create what kind of strength I like, what kind of flavor I like, the aromas I like, the length of time I want to smoke, you know, so I can create all of that. And that's what got me like, oh man, this is pretty dope. And then I'm, you know, depending on just like, you know, like a good wine, you know, depending on where you get your grapes from, and how you're gonna get, you know, how it's gonna turn out. And tobacco leaves the same way, so I really got into it after that.
All right, so I seared our shrimp and salmon. That is set up to go. I also got some peppers and onions. This is gonna be our little Holy Trinity, and I got some garlic as well. And then what we did is we pulled them out so we didn't overcook them. But we got a lot of good flavors on the bottom of the pan right now.
Beautiful color.
And so what we're gonna do with those flavors is sweat these veggies. And then I also got a little secret ingredient. I'm gonna use a little bit of smoked salmon to kind of break down. It's this hickory smoked salmon that I like, and that's gonna give us some of that bacon flavor.
Okay.
But it's gonna keep the seafood funk that we're working with.
Okay.
So we're gonna add that in and sweat these vegetables down and kind of get our sauce kind of going. So what was cool about this place that I seen when I actually did my research, they do kind of what I would say is like a little bit more brown sauce on there. So, so when I seen what some items that they were putting in there, I was like, oh, this is real deal. Like, this isn't really inherent to what we see in Minneapolis, where it can be like a little bit more like tomato based.
Right.
They got a nice brown sauce. So we're gonna achieve that with a little bit of Worcestershire and also a little dark beer from one of our local breweries in here, Indeed. So that's gonna be some of that beautiful flavor that gives us a little bit more of that traditional New Orleans depth on it. Like you think about like the gumbo and how the flavor is deep. That's gonna give us some of that. So.
You can tell that just by looking at. I know you didn't taste it, so looking at pictures.
I'm telling you, I don't know how the good Lord made my mind, but like if I read a recipe or see a picture, like I can taste it. I'm like,
wow.
Okay, this
does
is
that
what.
kind of stuff all the time. Like he'll be making something, and he'll be like,
put that lavender in there. And it'll be like, what? I don't know. Like, he's like, oh, the notes are perfectly matched. They'll be balanced. And I'm like, all right, fine.
The right
Like
line
you
of
said,
work.
ain't never tasted it, but
Right.
just know, like,
Right.
What's been interesting, I would say though, is that like I've cooked so many different types of food that when you talk about how flavors match up and like pairings, like the same way you talk about pairings, some stuff just paired. And I'm like, oh, they might do this in Spanish cuisine, but we don't think about it with soul food. Or they might do this in Indian cuisine, but we don't think about it with Italian. And I'm just like, sometimes the flavors can match up like that. So, and you'll also see like other recipes that use some of those ingredients. So you'll be like, for instance, like the Worcestershire, I know some dark sauces that use that. Worcestershire is kind of like a taboo thing. People don't really know what to use it. They can barely pronounce it. So I know a couple of sauces. I know a couple recipes that use it. So I'm like, okay, I think I got a sense. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see. All right, so we got our tomatoes in here. If you want to crank that heat back up. And then we're gonna actually add some stewed tomatoes. I like the contrast of the stewed tomatoes and a little bit of the fresh.
Tomato. I love tomato.
tomato.
Yes.
This recipe also we gonna kind of go light on the salt until we get to the end because salt's gonna come in different forms. So we're gonna get a little bit of it out of this chicken and blue sausage. We're gonna get a little bit out of the smoked salmon that we're about to put in here, and then we have some bacon we'll put on top later. Some smoked turkey bacon. So we're gonna put that on there and see. Have y'all ever had smoked salmon before?
Yes.
You got like all my favorites.
Yes, you're speaking his language here. And now that I think about it, the first time we were in Orleans, you were sick. He had gotten food poisoning the very first time you had gone. So you didn't get to enjoy any of this food.
This is one of my childhood favorites. Like growing up as a kid, I could ride my bike to the ocean, like in Puget Sound. And so we fished a lot. And they would have Native Americans that if you caught a fish that day, they would clean it and smoke it for you. And they would just charge you cash and be like, this is like early 90s, so it's probably a couple bucks a fish. They wasn't really busting them overhead like that, but they would clean your fish and smoke them for you while you sit there, and you could bring home this freshly caught smoked fish, and it was delicious. So we make like smoked salmon dip as like a little snack.
Oh, that sounds good. I had that before. Not homemade, probably like out of a tub or something.
Y'all ready for a drink?
Let's do it.
Ready for a drink?
Yeah.
What I know he made pretty good is a orange bourbon sweet tea.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
So I brewed some orange tea. I made a honey syrup. Just honey water dripped down. I got some orange juice in there. Get some fresh slices, and I'll put that in some Uncle Nearest, of course. Shout out.
shout out.
Ooh.
Hey, Juan. I need some more. You got me alone. Which one would you ask first? And your orange oil.
I'll just go with the 56.
Toast it up. Cheers.
We're sharing.
Alright, so while that's happening, we're gonna be good. We got our sausage in here, it's browning with the vegetables and the smoked salmon. We're gonna deglaze it with a little of this dark beer and the Worcestershire now, and then we'll add the tomato and stuff into it. It's gonna give a chance to burn off like the bitterness of it and kind of leave you with the dark flavor. So I'm gonna add that in here. I also love this recipe because I was one of those kids that was glued to food TV when it came out, and I was watching Emerald Live like every night of the week when I was like in probably 6th, 7th grade.
Okay.
He always was drinking beer and cooking with beer.
What years was that? In 6th grade?
I was watching TV.
Watch TV
Was that where it first came out?
When it first came
Oh,
out.
that was your jam. Okay. Food Network.
Okay.
I actually made my wife watch this. I don't know if y'all remember this, but they used to have Cooking with the Neelys.
Yes.
My wife had
Really?
that.
I heard those now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
made her go back and watch the
Wow.
videos.
It's really funny watching them.
They
Yeah.
was.
That
I
was
love
risque, boy. Not like
in today's sensitive ass society,
Right. But
that
back
would
then, I
have
loved
been.
watching that.
Yeah,
That was like a evening, sit back, glass of wine.
It was funny because it was kind of more like a live show. It wasn't just like
Right.
cooking to learn. It
Right.
was like,
It's like kind of like reality.
yeah, it was early. It was
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
Them bad camera angles and
I know.
horrible
I
lighting back then.
know. It was so bootleg nowadays, right?
All right, how we look at back to you, Chef?
You don't want this back, right?
This is okay.
So was this picked out to pair with the Southern Grits?
Yes.
The sweet tea, the southern
Tea
type of
southern,
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
New Orleans style and the bourbon, of course.
I appreciate you for that.
And I know you're a bourbon gentleman. So.
No.
Ready?
Okay, so we're doing good. We got the flavors I'm looking
It
for.
smells amazing. I'm
It
talking
does.
smell.
Yeah.
But smell it. Here.
So this is the vegetable stock we're gonna add, and then we're gonna take those tomatoes, and I'm just gonna hand crush those real quick and put those in here.
All right.
Yeah, did you guys ever get a chance to eat at the Moros?
No.
Oh man. So we didn't get to eat at a lot of places.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time waiting for a beignet. Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Been somewhere else. If you know, you know. But so we did that. But there's this place called the Moros, which isn't in the quarter. We was in the hood. I don't
Okay.
remember, but
That's what we like to do. Kind of venture out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the chef is Korean and black, so she had. She had a lot of mix, but it was really dope the way she did it, and it was like, but it still had a New Orleans flavor to it.
Okay.
So I
We
fell
waited
in
for
love
2
with
hours, first of all, to get in there. So.
it. We like came on
We
a
knew
Sunday
then
brunch,
it was-
and it would look like.
Oh well, yeah.
This is after
Sunday.
girls trip, so it was just like
Oh, God.
we couldn't get anywhere. This is my first taste. Let me see where we at.
Yeah, it smells amazing.
Let me see where we at. So we got our peppers, onions, garlic, celery, our chicken andouille sausage. We got our smoked salmon in here, a little beer, Worcestershire, tomato sauce. We got the whole kitchen sink.
Can I walk around here?
Come on around.
You
You said it looked beautiful. Take
The colors look
Yeah.
I'm gonna let y'all get in. I'm gonna let y'all get in. And see
Oh
where
my
we're going.
gosh.
But the color's getting nice and brown. And then we're about to hit it with the season up.
What does that tell you when you start getting?
Just them colors are intensifying, and what's interesting is like for how fast I put the beer in here, you can't even really taste that. You can't even really taste that dark beer like that. It's melded into the sauce perfectly. We almost get here. All right, let me clean up.
I know. So sit back down.
No limit.
Oh, I already know we're gonna be okay. I know my answer.
Is the house divided?
It might be. I'm cash money. I'm cash money.
So so this might sound a little,
Come on, let me
this
go.
might sound a little diplomatic, but I will not pick one over the other.
Okay.
Because they, like both of them,
times were
have so much of an influence of us rolling.
Okay.
They kind of have their own lane, almost. So I won't say one over the other. So I'm gonna take it diplomatic. So both of them are, I mean, we go
Cash
on
money.
both.
No, but what? Well, I just
What
cash
No
money
Limit
makes.
did though?
What No Limit did was very
I think it's the one.
groundbreaking.
I think it's the one
Yeah.
versus we'll never see that I think we should have. Like
Yes.
if they ever did
Yes.
a versus for them, like I always, I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and I subscribe to the basketball rapper, narrative. It was I was like, ooh, NBA, ain't rapping,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, man. I Wayne is just the go to me. The people getting their feelings, and that mixtape.
Nostalgic
it was-
too, right?
I
Like
mean,
I think of
yeah.
like basement parties and
But it was both.
driving
When-
around cruising.
When No Limit had it, it was
They
No
had
Limit.
it.
And then when
Yeah.
Cash Money came after them, it was Cash Money.
It was, but yeah, I just so that I think more of that speaks to me in that kind of way. Cash Money was
As an entrepreneur, though, I just respect, like, especially Master P.
Oh, of
what he
course.
did for the game.
and what he's doing now.
And even what he still does.
Right.
I think even people are starting to understand now what he was
Who
doing.
who's?
I had them yet. I'm gonna
What's
get
the
them.
shoes talking about?
Manada. We
Manada.
buy them. We buy the new Manadas. I can't wait.
Prices fresh. You know, I like to be in Minneapolis. Like, ooh, what are those?
You ain't gonna run into nobody with
You
a
ain't
big
gonna run into nobody.
Except when you catch Master P in one of his.
Exactly, that's the game.
I know. I ain't ran into them yet.
We're gonna do Vermont white cheddar tonight. Switch it up a little bit.
Okay, again, it's a digit, but I got you.
Only
I like it.
So what is the taste of
I'm gonna
the?
give y'all a little.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a little thing. I have an aunt, and she gets a cheese. She's always been a cheese lady.
We're from Wisconsin. We appreciate good cheese. We
are.
are. Yes. So
When I was a kid, it would be like,
Shit about it.
Oh, you don't know about all the levels?
I just know when I moved here and I went to the grocery store, my mom was always very big on going to the deli and picking meat and cheese and all that.
That was
So
the
when
thing.
I was on the phone with her, right? You know, Mom, what kind of cheese we get again? You know, like the store. They didn't have hardly anything here.
oh,
So-
man. Oh, man.
Work on that.
Think about your grits. You said crap simple.
Slice it, okay? Ooh, that was good. All right, Chef, what am I seasoning these grits with?
Okay, I'm gonna cut these off.
You can slap them.
So we're gonna hit it with a little garlic powder. Let's do the garlic salt. Actually.
Okay.
Do the garlic salt and then fresh pepper. You didn't say nothing. See, you get a backstory about my wife.
Okay.
She always like to share her food. When something's good, she keep it to herself.
Okay.
So we may or may not have the same issue in our house, bro. I'm just gonna.
No, we share
I can share it
everything.
too.
What you mean? Yes, we do.
This is some habanero sauce. This is like
Oh
a
my
couple
gosh.
dots, but it's really fruity. Like it has
Okay.
a really nice fruit flavor to it. I ain't trying to kill you off, but I
Okay.
just like you can go heavier on that.
I've done the habanero challenge before, and it did not end well.
How do y'all like compliment each other when you dress? Because y'all always seem to be like, you know, we try to do our little thing over here, but y'all, when y'all step out, it's like somebody got notice.
You know what? So my answer is it might be different than hers, but it's not. So when the way that we kind of coordinate together, it's not always intentional. Like it just
Not anymore.
not anymore. Yeah, it used to be very, very intentional. As far as what you wear, you wear. But now it's still what you wear. But at the end of it, it's always surprising how we just manage to put together something that like complements each other, like right without saying exactly what piece you're wearing. It
Right.
just comes out that way.
I feel like we even shop that way too. Like if you went and looked in the closet, it's kind of like we each have things that complement each other's. You know, like I'll wear them too. Okay, I got and it just works out. So yeah, it's evolved with our relationship. That's how we'll put it.
That's probably a good answer.
That's probably the
That's
best
probably the
thing.
best
Yeah,
answer.
because we've been coordinating for years, but
Yeah.
the level of the coordination, I think even the risks and different things that we like to do with fashion now have changed too. Just like with our taste and
How would you describe
maturity.
your style now at your current level and age now? All the things.
I mean, me personally, I think it's ever evolving. But I've always been into fashion and into style. I even did styling work for quite a bit
I was
too.
going to ask you that. I was
Yeah.
going to ask you that before.
Yeah, so I used to do styling for BCBG just a few years ago, and I got really into different fabrications and threading and all that type of stuff. So I'm really into that part of it. And when I was working there, it was like, well, hook my husband up with a personal shopper kind of thing too. So like it was a fun time. We had fun with it, and I think the cool thing about Fonz is that I have a husband who's not afraid to kind of play and experiment and take risks and have
I was
fun.
pulling off some
with
stuff
different
that I'm like,
pieces.
some of these brothers couldn't pull.
Yeah, he likes to take risks, and that makes it fun,
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's been fun.
Yeah, and my like I feel like I don't have just one. It really I mean, I have times where I like the dapper look, right? I got times that I want to be a little more edgy, and I also have some street in me, like where where I want to be,
Right.
jeans with the cutoffs and just some J's on or something like that. Like, so it really all depends on how I'm feeling and what I want to do. And I'm not really that into fashion. I don't really care for fashion. What I like is style, and I like putting stuff together, and even putting all of those different styles, the edgy, the dapper, the street style, all together. Like, so if you'd asked me that question maybe a couple of years ago, I would say I was like a preppy,
Yes.
like I was like a preppy street,
Preppy street, like Ralph Lauren.
It was Ralph Lauren.
Everything.
Yep,
All
Ralph
the
Lauren,
colors,
everything.
all the
But it would be
patterns,
like a street edge.
Yes.
So
a little bit of hood. Like,
bit of hood.
you know he grew up in the hood. He poloed out. Whatever.
Okay.
Everybody
I had a double polo collar myself at one point. I came out with it before. So, all right, we got the moment of truth. So we got our grits.
It's nice and pillowy. It
As
looks
you can
almost like
see,
mashed potatoes.
it's
Yes.
got a nice pillow to it, and that's the soak-in. If you got the patience to do it, or you really want them to be next level, soak them grits for a little bit. I would say like on the low end, you can probably do it 4 to 6. The chef always watches like overnight, and I'm like, I don't think anybody playing the grits a day in advance, but maybe.
We might.
you about to start?
Yeah, we'll start. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm gonna make like a little mound here. Like that.
Love how serious you get when it's plating time.
It's all about
Some
presentation.
people don't see me this side of me, but you know what? Alright, so this.
What do you call this sauce? What's the type of sauce? People don't kind of
This is just like it's an actual technical term. This is a variation of it, but in French cooking, this is called like a Espanol. It's like a brown sauce. There's like 7 mother sauces, and like one is like a cooked down tomato. This is probably a stem from that. It's like that dark tomato sauce, but I don't know, it's just good.
There was one place I went to. It was in the quarter, and they did have the shrimp and grits, but the sauce was it was like a dark brown gravy.
So sometimes they have that etouffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was even darker than any etouffee I've ever had. Like, it was almost, but I didn't enjoy it.
Remember that sauce one time? Remember that sauce you was want to like bottle up and take home
Yes.
with it?
Well, that was
What
the
was that?
bourbon. That was bourbon shrimp. That was different. Yeah.
But it was.
But yeah, we tried to we asked for more of the sauces.
Yes,
We're like
we-
dripping it onto our other food that we ordered.
Oh,
It came on an appetizer.
sauce?
Yeah, but yeah, we're really into sauce. I
Yeah, I'm saucy
aren't we?
too. I
Yeah.
love gravy.
Okay, so we're gonna come with these little cutie tomatoes. I like the little fresh citrus and like the balance that brings. Help cut some of the decadence of the grits. We got a little bit of this parsley and green onions. So hit this here. And then we're gonna hit it with a little bit of this bacon. Beautiful.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Get close up for that.
What's up, Casey?
Let me get one for the grand.
Yeah. I'm like, look, where's your phone? I know my
Let
person.
me get one for the grand real quick with a little shrimp in there.
Beautiful.
All right, let's do it.
All right, I'm okay.
Okay.
Oh, no, this is yours.
See what I'm saying?
Moment of truth.
So I'm trying to grits by itself.
Appreciate that.
Oh,
Mhm.
the
The texture of these grits.
That's
You
the
can see it too.
That's the salt.
Yeah, you
Like
can.
that fluffiness that you see is
You
the
can
same.
taste it.
It's the same texture you have in your mouth when you eat it.
Oh, the salmon. Yes. Yes, bro.
Good game. We brought the rolls from Minneapolis tonight.
Thank
You
you.
heard what the people said.
Did that.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Chop It Up with us and our lovely guests for some New Orleans style shrimp and grits.
See y'all next time. Peace.
Oh,
I didn't know the shades was coming out.
The whole thing.
He's supposed to open the door like this for you.
It was a cold night, and I'm glad we got to take a little trip to New Orleans.
Right?
We needed it.
Thank y'all so much. We'll
Thank
for
y'all.
just hanging out again too.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Appreciate you, brother. Dinner was amazing.
Next
Thank you, sir.
time, next
Put
time,
some
I'm
pressure on
gonna
Ruby
cigar
Slipper.
out
I
of
can't
this.
wait to
Appreciate the hospitality.
Absolutely. Drive safe.
Thank
Hope y'all
you.
start to drive far because y'all know what it is out there
Oh, it is.
in the tundra. Peace out.